You can see that it also had the respiratory system up here, but we have a lot of those faces, so we will not probably use it to label any of the respiratory system here. So our starting point for the digestive system is going to be right here, and that is the esophagus. That is the esophagus. Okay? For the esophagus, two things to take note of. First, at the very beginning of the esophagus right here, there is the upper esophageal sphincter. And at the very bottom of it right here, there is the lower esophageal sphincter or the cardiac sphincter. Cardiac sphincter. Down here, upper esophageal sphincter right here, and this is the esophagus, leading us into the stomach. Now, because of the fact that this very lower esophageal sphincter is called the cardiac sphincter, the very first part of the stomach right here after its junction with the cardiac sphincter or the esophagus is called cardia. The stomach has four parts. This is the very first part. It is called cardia. This is the second part. Right here, this curved part is called the fundus. After that, we have this long part right here, which is called the body right here. Okay? And then the fourth part of it is, which color I didn't choose, is this right here, and that is called the pylorus. That is called the pylorus. At the end of the pylorus right here, this is called the pyloric sphincter. This is the pyloric sphincter. So as far as the stomach is concerned, you need to know the four parts: the cardia, okay, the fundus, the body, and the pylorus, and you need to know the pyloric sphincter. All these four parts can be labeled either on the surface of this like that, or they can also be labeled right here. So this is going to be the cardia, this is going to be the fundus, this is going to be the body, this is the pylorus, and this is the pyloric sphincter right here. Okay? They can also be labeled inside here. So this will be the cardia, this dome shape right here is the fundus, this long one is the body, this is the pylorus, this is the pyloric sphincter right here. Now, if you happen to see this open like that and with a label inside here like this, or instead inside here like this, and the question said identify the structures or the ridges, these are called rugae. These are called rugae. Now, as far as the stomach goes, two more things you need to know, and that is after I put this together right here. Okay. The two things you need to know right here. You see the stomach right here? This curve in the stomach right here, which is also this curve in this model right here, this curve right here, this curve right here, that is called the lesser curvature. This curve down here, the big one, that is called the greater curvature. It is also right here. That is the greater curvature. So this is the lesser curvature, this is the greater curvature. With the lesser curvature, there is a membrane right here, goes right where my hand is. That membrane attaches the stomach to the liver right here, in this spot. That is called lesser omentum. Lesser omentum. It is not shown in any of your lab models, or any of the models here. But here is how the question is going to be formulated about this. Okay? You might find a labeling like that, asking you to identify the structure, okay, or the curve. That is called the lesser curvature. The next question is going to be identify or name the membrane attached to this. That is the lesser omentum. So that is how the question is going to be formulated. The same thing for the greater curvature. You will find the labeling like that, and it will say identify the structure or the curvature or the curve. The word curve might give it up or give it out. So I will say identify the structure, and that is the greater curvature. Then the question is going to be name the membrane attached to it, and that name is greater omentum. But the greater omentum, unlike the lesser omentum, is also shown in this model right here. The lesser omentum is not anywhere in any model. Okay? Let me see if it is underneath here. Nope, it is not here. So the only place or only model where there is an omentum is this one right here. And that is the greater omentum right here. That is the greater omentum. That makes it a very nice spot to label it. Name the membrane labeled with the white tape, and that is the greater omentum right there. Okay? So that is as far as the stomach is concerned. Now, before we go any further, just for identification, this one right here is called the spleen. This is the spleen, and this is the liver. Okay? The yellow here is the liver, the green is the spleen, and this white right underneath the stomach right here, that is the pancreas. It is very unlikely that they will be used or labeled other, because we have bigger model that contain for all three of them. For all three of them, we have better models, but this is just to let you know where they are located within the GI tract. Now, after the stomach, this is the pyloric sphincter. It guards the entrance between the stomach and the small intestine. This right here, that is exposed and open, this is the very first part of your small intestine, and this is called the duodenum, right here. Right here, this is called the duodenum. Now, this is going to be, it is the shortest part of the three parts of the small intestine, and it is going to be labeled right here. Okay? Now, if you notice right next to the duodenum, there is this green duct right here. This green duct is called the common bile duct. The three words are needed to get it correct. The common bile duct. It is shown here and in another model. These are the only places where it is shown, and I will show it to you again when we come to it. Now, this white one, inside or underneath the stomach here, this is the main pancreatic duct. This is the main pancreatic duct. The most important thing to recognize right here is that this main pancreatic duct and this common bile duct, they both open right here in the duodenum. This spot where they open is labeled in your lab manual, and it is called the hepatopancreatic sphincter. Hepatopancreatic sphincter. It is also called the sphincter of Oddi, O-D-D-I. Either one is correct, but it is labeled in your lab manual as the hepatopancreatic sphincter. Now, the duodenum, as I said, is going to be labeled right here. Now, the second part of the small intestine is called the duodenum, and that is going to be labeled right here. going to be labeled at the very beginning of the small intestine under the large intestine. This area is going to be where the duodenum will be labeled. Then if you are looking for the ileum is going to be labeled way down right here. It's going to be labeled down here. That is where the ileum will be labeled. Okay? So these are the three spots where the three parts of the small intestine are going to be labeled. The duodenum here, duodenum here, and the ileum here. Now, all these parts of the small intestine are connected with a fat membrane, just like the greater omentum, but it is called mesentery. It is written in your lab manual, but it is not shown or labeled anywhere in the model. So it might just come as a question, okay? Like you will have a label right here in the middle, and it will say identify the membrane that connect the different parts of the small intestine, labeled with the red tape. That is going to be mesentery. Now, the ileum, the last part of the small intestine, connect to the large intestine right here, and this area where it connects is called the cecum. This is the cecum. See the red tape? That is the cecum. Now, in the cecum, there are two things that you need to identify. Besides the fact that this label is the cecum itself, this is the appendix. This is the appendix. Not only that, right here, at the junction of the cecum with the ileum, there is a valve or a sphincter right here. Right here. This is called the ileocecal valve. It's going to be labeled right at this spot, and the question is going to say identify the sphincter or the valve or the structure. Either one of those is going to be used. And this is called the ileo from ileum, cecum, ceco from cecum, ileocecal valve. Right after the cecum, you have this part of the colon called the ascending colon, Then you have this other part right here, and that is called the transverse colon, Then you have the third part, which is right here, and that is called the descending colon. And the last part, which is right here, is going to be called the sigmoid colon. Which color didn't I use? The red. Okay, this is called the sigmoid colon. Okay, so notice the spot where each label is done. This is the cecum, going to be labeled right here, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon. Okay, now, ascending, transverse, descending, sigmoid. Now, if the label is right where the white tape is, okay, and the question said, identify the specific part of the organ, you can say, right here, that is transverse colon. But if the label said, identify the muscle or the band, we are talking about this muscle. It is called tena coli. It is a band of muscle that travels all along the large intestine, but it is easiest to be labeled right here. That is tena coli. Okay? Now, if the label is done in any one of those, whether the yellow, the green, or the red in any of those spots, and it is done across like this, and the question said identify the structure, each one of those is called hyestra. Each one of those is called a hyestra. Those are the small segments of the large intestine called hyestra. Okay? Now, the large intestine also has a membrane that connects all its parts together, and it is called the mesocolon. It's called mesocolon. And it can only be shown and labeled right here. Right here. This part of it that you see right here is called the transverse mesocolon. But if the label is here, just writing mesocolon is quite enough. Okay? That is the mesocolon right here. After the large intestine, the next part we have is right here. And this part is called the rectum. And the rectum is going to be labeled right here, where this green tape is. Okay? Now, with the rectum, two things to pay attention to. Okay? If there is a label right here, where the yellow is, there are two possible questions, two possible answers. If the question said identify the muscle, that is the internal anal sphincter. The three words are required to get it correct. Internal anal sphincter, where the yellow is. If the question said identify the opening or the canal, that is the anus or the anal canal, in the same spot as the yellow is. Okay? So structure or sphincter is internal anal sphincter. Opening or canal is anus or anal canal. Now, if the label is right here and at the same time right here, okay, both spots, this is the external anal sphincter. That is why you see the three words are required. Internal or external has to be there for the anal sphincter to be known, okay, or to be correct. Now, these two spots does not mean these are the internal and the external anal sphincter. If you wrote that, that is wrong. These two spots are only the external anal sphincter. The internal anal sphincter is right here, in between them, right here, in between the two of them. Okay?
So when you have both tapes, it's
Yes,
external?
both tapes are going to be right here and here.
That's the external.
That is the external anal sphincter, because these two muscles represent the external anal sphincter. It is cut. It's supposed to be round, and it is cut so it shows two pieces. Okay? So, right here in the liver, what is very clear, and you can see this is the gallbladder. This is the falciform ligament. Falciform ligament. Also, you can see way down here, this is the common bile duct that comes all the way down and come here. But it is not going to be labeled in this model here. If it is labeled in this model, it is going to be labeled right here. Okay? The common bile duct. All right? So now, let us leave this.